All right, let's do this.
Welcome first-time listeners and returners to the Sports Deli, where everyone deserves a seat at the table, especially our next incredible guest. So grab your favorite deli sandwich or bagel and your favorite beverage, and let's do this together in the Sports Deli. What an honor on Jackie Robinson Day to have our next incredible guest. Shout out to Michael Montgomery. Yes, Ahman is sporting his Brooklyn Dodgers hat. Michael Montgomery II for connecting our next guest, who hails to us from the home of the College World Series in the 402, Omaha, Nebraska. A running back, he started at the University of Nebraska after being named a high school All-American at Omaha Central. While in Lincoln, he was an integral part of the Cornhuskers winning 2 national championships. And with that being said, we are so honored to welcome Ahman Green to the Sports Deli Podcast, where everyone deserves a seat at the table. And today, you will hear the rest of the story. He was born the same day as Ice-T, John McEnroe, and the Bus, Jerome Bettis, who I've been dying to get on the show, but he's very busy, working on his degree at the University of Notre Dame after his playing days were over. Kelly Tripucka, one of my favorite NBA players of all time, who would shoot bank shots from 3, and Mark Price, and the same year as Tom Brady, who we will talk about later, and most of you know my sentiments about Tom, and Floyd Merriweather. He was drafted in the 3rd round of the 1998 NFL draft by the Seattle Seahawks. And during his 12-year NFL career, Ahman was a 4-time Pro Bowler and 2-time All-Pro selection. He's in the Green Bay Packer Hall of Fame, which is where he played the majority of his career. He's also in the Nebraska Hall of Fame. He played with the likes of Warren Moon, who we wish him well. He's going through some stem cell treatments right now. Brett Favre, Donald Driver, and Aaron Rodgers, which I also have an opinion on. He loved ColecoVision and Madden 97 back in the day, and you will hear the rest of the story with regards to that today as well. Most recently, an esports entrepreneur and longtime player, he was named the first coach of NCAA D3 Lakeland University's new esports program, and man, I find that fascinating. For those of you who don't know what in God's name I'm talking about, esports are multiplayer video games like Call of Duty, Rocket League, and Overwatch, played online, competing against other colleges across the country. Yes, this is an intercollegiate sport, ladies and gentlemen. He's got a podcast, Ahman Green's Gamers Lounge, which I've watched, which I love, that can be found on all audio platforms and YouTube. He has some amazing content as well as free giveaways from TVs to signed football cards. He loves dogs, and you can often see them sleeping in his game room during his lives. He recently went back to Lincoln and watched a little spring ball at the University of Nebraska. You can find him just about everywhere on Twitter at Ahman Green 30, on Twitch at Ahman Green TV, Instagram also Ahman Green 30, on Facebook, official Ahman Green 30, and on Snapchat, Ahman Green 30. Man, truly an honor to have you in the Sports Deli Podcast, man, where everyone deserves a seat at the table, especially on Jackie Robinson Day.
Of course, Mike, that had to be the best and more thorough introduction I've had in a long time. So I appreciate you on that, hitting all the dotting all the I's, crossing the T's. You like knocked it. If this was baseball, you knocked it out of the park. Good job. Great job.
I appreciate it. You know, it's funny because my original 2 co-hosts, they were like, just do it in post-production. And I can tell you, man, the reactions typically are just like that, man. It's worth the price of admission, for real.
No, for sure. That was good. Even down to ColecoVision. And that's how I got started in gaming and all that. Just bring back memories of all everything you said. Just brought back memories of different situations in my life, good and bad. So
yeah, right, absolutely. I mean, we played, original Atari, and then in television. Mm-hmm. Man, I remember the baseball in television like it was yesterday, and turning those double plays, and you got to hit the button. The sound was like, and yep. Man, it was phenomenal. And then Defender in the arcades, and then Stargate, and going all the way up to Galaga, and yep. Man,
Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah, absolutely. Donkey Kong.
Yep, that was my main game. That and Zaxxon on ColecoVision.
Wow,
those are the only 2 games I had in my system. So I just play one, beat it, and then go play the other, beat it, and then basically go to bed.
That is hilarious. I mean, I think I really started with Pong, to be honest with you.
Okay, yeah. I played that a little bit. Yep, I remember that when you moved
yeah.
What was the thing? Was it called? just a board, or what was it called?
That's a
The
good
handle?
question. I remember like they had the advanced version later, like Arachnoid. They
Yep.
had all these advanced versions of it
Yeah,
that
I
were.
remember Arachnoid. It was at the bottom that time.
It
It
was
was
at
at
the
the bottom of
bottom.
the screen.
Absolutely, yeah. And then, man, it's just the evolution of gaming is just, man, unbelievable.
It
So
is.
so so let me ask you. Obviously, your football and Jackie Robinson
Mhm.
transcended a lot of different things. What comes to mind today for you as you wear your Brooklyn Dodgers hat, repping?
It just somebody that at their time did things to help bring change to the world. And I think we're lacking as current athletes that we're not doing that enough. Um, but there are a few that's pushing the, as I call it, moving the change. Keeping the chains of change going. And during that time, they were right in the middle, the thick of things of the civil rights movement, teaming up with people like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. You had Lou Alcindor, which was eventually later on Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Jackie Robinson, who started it. But then by the time it got to Kareem or Lou Alcindor, then Jim Brown and other NFL players, other baseball players, other Olympic athletes doing their cause, because as we know, especially here in America, professional sports athletes, we are held at a different. We're held up, and if you can do it the proper way, use that stage to get the word out about what's going on in the world to help bring on that change. And they did. That's what they helped do. And I know, like I said, today it's happening, but in little spurts and here and there. But I know one thing, like in the gaming world, it's somewhere where there's is a ton of inclusion. There's a ton of everybody being aware of each other and being and seeing everyone for who they are, and of their background, who they represent, how they're being defined as, and that is being seen everywhere in the gaming world. And that's why that's one thing I love about being esports head coach, being a gamer, is that it doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, what's your background, how you were raised. You're going to get accepted into the gaming community some way, somehow. And you just put yourself out there, be you, be honest, but have that empathy, understanding everybody, that everybody's human, nobody's perfect. Um, when somebody's having a bad day, give them a moment, give them time to settle down, recalibrate, and you'll see the best of them. And I say for me and doing my job here, that's what I kind of spread that word, it's among my players, because that's something. These are young developing adults that then in they get here as a freshman. In 4 years, they're going to be going into the real world. So I want to make sure I can help affect them in a positive manner and teach them some things, and not only teach them how to play Rocket League or Overwatch or whatever, but teach them things about life that they can use with them, once they leave here, out of Lakeland. So that's kind of I say my how I see things, how I live day to day. I'm a father of 5 kids, 4 girls and a boy. So I treat just like raised my kids. They're all grown now. I think the last one is out the house, 19 years old, actually 20 now. And so I treat my kids in here, my players in here, just like I would have treated my own, which I have, and show them, love, show them support, but also give them, have that tough love too when it needs be. So
Man, that's fascinating. I was going to ask you a question on the first part of your response, and then you kept going, and now there's sort of a duality to your answer. And like you, I'm a girl dad, but I'm in a space that's completely different than yours. So what the first thing I was going to ask you was, because I posted this on my TikTok about somebody in the background talking about how scary the unknowns were, and the hate and the vitriol must have been. We talk about people that have fought for social injustice for a long time.
hmm
Like something you read about, but I can't possibly, and maybe you can't even possibly comprehend, because of the people that laid the foundation before you, of what it was like. I mean, can
right.
you imagine if that was you with what they had to go through, the people that you mentioned earlier? I mean,
Yes.
I just can't even imagine it, to be honest with
Yeah.
you.
I tell my family, friends, I said, man, if I was born from the 50s to the late 70s, I would have been in jail. I was like, because
For real.
I grew up as a kid where once I was taught that I have value, I am someone. I didn't, and my mom and dad, they nailed into me that you can't let people come into your personal space. You want to be treated a certain way, and you want to treat people a certain way. So I make sure that, okay, if any of my friends treated me a wrong way, I would let them know. If we have to have a conversation out, cool. But if we didn't, and I say if it wasn't somebody, if it wasn't a friend, and then somebody basically came at me, then I'm like, I got to protect myself, and I'm not going to succumb to being bullied, or because that's it was a form of, So during that time, it was a form of bullying, to use the color of your skin against people and have people intimidated for that reason. That's bullying in a way. So I grew up in a way. I didn't grow up during that time, but I grew up, knowing my value, knowing that I'm somebody that you can't come in my space unless I allow you to. And if you not greet me or treat me a certain way, then I'm not gonna be the first to, come at you, but I will protect myself. That's all I'm doing. If you attack me, you verbally, whatever, I'm just gonna protect myself. And so at that time, that's what I tell people. I mean, I've been in trouble. I said I would have been pushing back. I would
Hell
have been
yeah.
pushing back. That's how
Absolutely.
simple how I put it, because it's about being treated fair. Just treat me
Yeah.
fair. The
Right.
person next to me, if that's a white man or if that's a Jewish man or whoever it is next to me, treat me like you treat. What's the difference? I'm gonna respect. I respect you, even if I don't know you. I respect you, especially if I don't know you. 100% respect you, because I don't know where you're from. I don't know your background. I don't know your story. You might be having a bad day. You might be, or you might be having a great day.
Right.
Just treat. My thing was as a kid, it's like I would tell my mom and dad, I was like, I just want to be treated fairly. And when I said that to him, I think I was like 10 or 11. They were like, huh? They're like, how old are you? It's like, you talking like a grown man. I'm like, look, I just want to be treated fairly and this and that. I think it was we were talking about because I played little league, I played flag football, tackle football, and baseball. I think we were talking about a baseball game I had just had, and I think the umpire made a bad call, and I was mad about it, and I think we might have lost, or I might have struck out or whatever. And my dad, we were chatting about it. And I just say, Dad, I just want to be treated fair. I just want to make sure, he didn't. I don't think he saw the pitch right. I'm like, are but it's like that's how I was all the way until now. I said, just treat me fairly, and you're gonna get the best me. You know, and go from there.
So, do you think that there was a level of generational trauma that was just sort of part of the inevitability of growing up, being a person of color?
Um, I'll be honest with my family, the way my mom and dad raised me, because my stepdad, who actually raised me, he's from Louisiana. My mom's from Omaha, Nebraska, actually Kansas City, Kansas, but grew up in Omaha, Nebraska. And then
Right.
they met once me and my mom moved out to Los Angeles. That's when my stepdad and my mom met. My dad, my biological dad, was in my life. We talked, we had
Mm,
conversations. But the person that raised me was my stepdad from Louisiana. And for me as a kid, no, there was none. I never sensed my mom or dad have those conversations.
mhm,
I never, until I got older and I started going out on my own, spending the night over a friend's house,
mm,
studying history. By the time I got to high school, learning that, then I'm started and seeing movies. I remember shoot when I was a kid actually. So yeah, it was before high school, but I remember seeing the movie Mississippi Burning with Gene
Oh my
Hackman.
God.
And I watched that movie and it was just like, and then that far after that, I ended up watching some of Roots, and I was like, wow. I was just like, as a kid, I'm sitting there like, that's not right. I was like, none of this is right. And that's all and then I would say that, and my mom and dad, they were just like, you're right. That's not right. And that would be it. They wouldn't really go into a conversation. I don't know why they didn't. Maybe because they just wanted me to process it
Mm,
as me, come up with my opinion on it. And once they saw me say what I say or hear me say what I say, like, man, that's not fair. That's not fair. That's not right.
mm,
To do that to that person just because of this. And it's like I got it right away of what the movies were showing us. It's just like,
yeah. So,
wow.
yeah, are you a history buff?
I say I'm a geography major, so a lot of history in
Wow,
my
that's
background.
interesting.
We have a lot of history in my background.
Wow, that's cool. So what did you find out when you went to Nebraska that really like hooked you?
The school, you mean the university?
Yeah,
Going there? Okay, yeah, that's a fun story. So I was, born there. Then we
yeah,
moved out to California, like I said. We come
yep.
back because my mom made a decision. She made an executive decision. She said to me, I think I was an eighth grader, and she says, "You're not going to high school in Los Angeles, California, because that's when the Bloods and Crips were at their highest. Gang
Yep.
shootings, people getting hit with stray bullets on the daily.
Yep.
High school football games, people getting, they're shooting at the game, and everybody got to hit the ground." So she's like, "We're moving back to the Midwest." And I'm 13. I'm almost 13. I'm 12 and a half, about to be 13 in February. And of course, I'm like, "No, why do we have to go back to, all my friends, I've been in school since the second grade in the house we were living in. So I did elementary school,
Wow.
junior high school, and now I'm headed to high school and thinking like, okay, I'm gonna play for Dorsey High School, a
Wow.
prominent high school
Yeah,
in the
hell
Los
yeah.
Angeles area, and play football with all my friends, all my little league friends, football and baseball. Let's go. And then in about this time of the, actually it was probably like my eighth grade year, about 2 months from now. So like March or February of that year, she said, "We're moving back to Nebraska." And I'm like,
You had no inkling either.
I was like, "What?" She said, "I'm gonna take you out of school in May
Wow.
so we can start packing up." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Dang, no."
Oh,
And so we
wow.
moved back. We get back, and of course, I'm like giving the state guide to my mom and dad for 2 weeks.
Of course.
Because I'm like mad at the world. My life is over as a 13-year-old. I don't know nobody in Nebraska. I didn't grow up here. And when she's like, "Boy, stop it. You got brothers. I had two older brothers, an older sister, and they had kids, and I was pretty much a built-in babysitter at the time, which was okay with me. I didn't mind doing it, but I got over it. 2 weeks, like I said, 2 weeks, and I was over it.
Yeah.
Um, so my first 2 years, I went to Omaha North High School. Um, and we kind of it was the reason more because the I was she wanted me to go to her high school, which was Omaha Central, where I ended up
Hmm.
eventually going. But
Yeah.
we moved with my sister at the time so we could get moved to town and then get our own place. So my sister's address
Oh,
was not in the school district of Central. So I went to North
got
for
it.
2 years.
Hmm.
And first year I played one more year of Little League Pop Warner football. We actually won the city championship. I was one of the team captains, and that was just a great experience. Playing
Wow.
in Los Angeles got me ready for playing high school, playing football in Nebraska, because talent was everywhere in LA.
Man.
Everybody was good. I mean, my best season, I had one good season in LA. It was with the Culver City Lancers. We might have been like 8-2, and we lost in the second round of the playoffs. And that was the furthest I went in one season. That was like 2 years before we moved back. So my first year in Omaha, we lose the first game of the season in triple overtime to
Oh,
the best team in the city, Kingswood. And then after that game, I say to my teammates, I said, "Look, because everybody to me, like they had been there prior to me. I've been in
right,
California
right.
this whole time,
Yeah, yeah.
so I don't know about Kingswood. I don't know the legacy of Kingswood football. To me, they're just another football team. But to the Nebraska players that grew up there, they're like, man, this is the best team in the city. They got beers. They drive to the game. I'm like, man, hold up, time out. They can't play against us if they drive into the game. We 13 years old.
What in the hell?
Like, what's like? Think about that for a second. So I'm like, whatever. So I get voted the team captain, and like I said, first game of the season, we go to triple overtime against these guys. And so after the game, we lose. We lost 16-15 or 14-15, like by 1 point. And so we huddled up. We do the take a knee. My coach says anything. Says what he needs to say to the players. Then he asked me. He's like, "Amon, you want to say anything?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "For sure, let's go." This is the only thing at that time when I was at that age. This is the only time I would speak if it was football or baseball. Outside of that, you couldn't get me do a presentation in front of the classroom. I'd be nervous. I'd be all sweaty. But if it had to do with football or baseball,
Right.
I'm another
Yeah.
kid. My mom and dad, who is that kid? who's he? Why he loud? He's talking to people because it was just my element. Playing
Mm.
sports was it brought the other Ahman out. And so I said, yeah, let me say something, coach. And I said, I remember vaguely. I said, I remember clearly. Excuse me. I remember clearly. I said, look, guys, we y'all told me before training camp started, this was the best team in the city. That nobody's beat them. Y'all haven't beat them in years. We just lost to them by 1 point in triple overtime. So what's that tell y'all? And everybody kind of looked at each other and kind of like nodding their heads, like, yeah, you know what? We were right there with them. I'm like, exactly. I said, so let's do this. Let's run the table. Let's go undefeated for the rest of the season so we see them in the championship game. And everybody was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And we did. We ran the table. We went 11-0.
Mm-mm.
We get to the championship game. We're 11-1. That one loss is to them. We didn't lose the rest of the season. And we played them in the city championship. We beat them 42-15.
Whoop that
And
ass.
yes.
That's
And it was,
phenomenal.
and I'm like, to me, obviously being tuned up out in Los Angeles, playing with better athletes, and then mentally getting through that,
Yep.
you know, too. And so I brought all that I brought that with me. So to me, it's like, look, we got to play football. I don't care what happened last year. We got to play football now on this Saturday, not 2 Saturdays ago for last year. They might have been good last year, but this is a different team, you know. So it's not just the physical part, it's the mental part. If you really think you're going to get beat, you're going to get beat. But if
Man,
you
that
believe and confident about yourself, not cocky, but confident,
right. Swag. Yeah.
we work as a team, we're going to win this game. I said, we do that, we're going to be fine. And that's what happened. We pretty much, they didn't do nothing. I think they scored the touchdowns when the game was over, pretty much. And I did most of my work on defense. Even though I was a running back, I had an interception, I had a punt block, I blew up the quarterback. It was a sack fumble.
Mm-mm. Oh,
I did
hell
my
yeah.
job. I played my role. Even though I was a starting running back and middle linebacker, I did most of my work damage on line being a linebacker.
Wow.
And the kids we were just, excited, happy, and that followed with me. And like for me, being from California, growing up in California, excuse me, and seeing that, how some of these teams carried, stay with each other all the way through high school.
Right.
So I was like, hey guys, after that game, a couple weeks after the game, we like had a team meeting. I was like, hey, I talked to the players. I was like, hey y'all, let's go to the same high school. I'll transfer. I was like, look, I'll transfer right now. Let's go all to the same high school so we can win state. And everybody was like, I don't know, my mom. Da, da, da. I'm like, man, just ask your mom. Like in my head, I already moved from California. Moving to another high school district ain't nothing for me. Let's go. I was like, we could win a championship. We could win a state championship with this
Mm.
team right here.
Mm.
And some people, like I said, some guys, everybody went their separate ways. I was like, dang. I was like, come on, guys. So I stayed at
Mm.
North my sophomore year. I played junior. I played varsity,
Yep.
and it was an okay season. We went 5-4. I rushed for my first 1,000 yards. I probably rushed for 1,000 yards in Little League, but it was Little League. Nobody kept stats.
Right. Exactly.
Nobody kept stats, except for one season though. One season before I moved out of California, it must have been my second year playing at Culver City. I was probably like 10 years old, and my dad, he made me a bet because at that time I was playing football and baseball seasonal. He said, I'm gonna make you a bet. I'll give you $10 for every touchdown you make. And of course, I didn't. Being a smart kid, he knew I was smart too. He's like, I did the math. I'm like, okay. I said, deal. We shook on it. Season comes to an end. I said, Dad. He's like, so what's the tally? How many touchdowns you have, son? I'm like, I had 25 touchdowns. He's like, and my mom is just shaking. She's like shaking just like what you're doing right there. My mom is in the background. I told you shouldn't do that. He's tough. He's a competitor. And sure enough, he's like, man, I
That's
gotta pay
classic.
you $250. I'm like, yep.
That
But
is
what I did,
classic.
Yeah, so it was in the football season, like November, and so what I did was I used it for my Christmas shopping money. So I bought my mom a gift, I bought
Oh,
my dad a gift, and I bought me a new pair of Jordans. Actually, no, a new pair of Nikes.
yeah, yeah.
I'll never forget them. But yeah, that's what I did with the money. I bought my mom a Christmas gift, I bought my dad a Christmas gift, and I bought me a pair of shoes. That's what I did with it. Um, so yeah, so I get, like I said, sophomore year, play high school football, varsity, rush for 1,000.
But let me ask you a question real quick,
Yeah.
because when Tyrone Poole was on this week,
Hmm.
he talked about how, certain guys, Tony Dorsett, and guys inspired him and stuff like that. But you didn't just all of a sudden, like, did you just have a gift of having a football IQ where you could see gaps before they opened up? Or, how did you, come to this point where you're so gifted, so early in life?
Man, that's a great question. I don't think anybody's picked up that information like that and asked that question yet. Part of it is what I already mentioned, being in California. Um, and another part of it is my biological dad was a phenomenal athlete. He basically, when he was in high school, I found that, I found this out once I got to high school, and then more and more as an adult, when I would be walking around Nebraska and people see him, oh, you're David Green's son, right? Oh man, man, he was so fast. He would do this and that. And I'd be like, really? I'm like, what? And he didn't brag about himself when
Yeah,
we
yeah. I was
hung
gonna say
out.
he must never have said
He
anything.
never spoke
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
He never talked about himself. Which I'm the same. I don't talk about myself. I don't talk
yeah,
about what I did and what
yeah.
I'm going to do. Or now I could talk about the past, and I don't. So find it out. He passed away unfortunately in 2016 from
Mm.
prostate cancer.
Oh,
And right before he passed, or right after he passed away, my stepmom, who we went to go stay with, and we stayed with her, and she passed her. So stuff I've been hearing about for years. How fast he was, how phenomenal an athlete he was, and he had scholarship offers from everywhere. And he didn't go to college. He went to the military, and
wow.
so she gave me this like this photo album, and she was scrapping, taking articles, pictures from his
Mm.
athletic career, and I'm paging through it, and it's a house. It's at my house now. I'm paging through it, and I remember one guy saying to me, "Man, your dad did this at the state track meet one year," and now I'm seeing the clippings where my dad won the. So at that time, it wasn't meters, it was yards.
Right, right,
So it was
right,
the 440 for the 400,
right.
the 220 instead of
Yep.
220 yards instead of 200,
Right,
and the 110 or the 160 or something for the 100.
right.
And then
110.
he was the anchor. So he had one state in the 400, the 200, the 100. He was anchor on the 100 and the 400. So 5 events he went gold.
Wow.
I'm sitting there like, the only what popped in my head was, why he didn't tell me he ran the 400. I would have ran the 400 too. Because I did not want to run the
I
400, but if I
mean,
would have known my dad did, I would have did it. I was like,
well,
no problem.
it's the hardest event in track, they
Yes,
say.
it is.
So
It's a full on sprint these days. I've
full on
seen it. I
sprint.
coached it.
It's
My
crazy.
daughters, my oldest, she ran track, and I remember her watching her. She was in nationals in Sacramento, California, and I'm just watching her, and North Carolina. I'm like, this is a full on sprint now. This is not just a pace yourself on the
Right.
first curve and get in position on the second curve. No, it's a straight up sprint. And that was like 07, 08, 09 when she was younger. She's 25 tomorrow. So it's
Wow.
like, man. So with that, my dad, and then my two brothers who also play high school football, baseball, basketball, track, they did everything,
Mm.
roughing me up as a kid.
Yeah.
Then when I was born, they were in high school. So I was their little baby brother. And so they literally roughed me up. I mean, I don't remember, but they've told me, oh, one time we were babysitting you and we dislocated your shoulder.
Oh shit.
Like, bro, what? Y'all fired. Mom, what was mom doing? Mom was at work. We were babysitting. What was y'all doing with me? Oh, we were slinging you around the living room. You were having fun until your shoulder popped out.
Oh my god.
I'm
That's
like, dude.
classic.
I'm like, man. So of course I get a pain threshold right away. Um, so two older brothers who play sports beat me up. my dad's a phenomenal athlete. And then growing
Wow.
up in Los Angeles, California, I say those are the three factors right there because not
Mm,
only did I did Pop Warner football, Little League baseball, and I didn't do, I went straight to overhand pitch. I didn't do the T-ball. I went
right.
straight to overhand. And so I'm, like I said, in the element, I had guys that I played with in Little League that are also in the NFL, that are also in the NBA, that's also in Major League Baseball, went to the Olympics. Like I'm playing around phenomenal athletes in California, Southern
Mm,
California. And for me, becoming a competitor, I figured out at 6 years old that, man, if I'm gonna be a starter, I gotta play hard. I gotta
yep.
play tough. I gotta work hard. I can't complain. I gotta hustle. I gotta do this because if I don't, I'm not gonna be on the field. I'm not gonna be on the baseball roster. I'm not gonna be on the football roster. I'm not gonna be on the basketball roster. So I gotta practice. I gotta work out. So working hard in practice. But then my neighborhood, I had my whole neighborhood full of kids, all mostly boys. We had a few girls that would jump in with us. I remember one girl named Portia. Another one, I think her sister joined in. Every now and then they'll join in, play some tag football or some tackle football or play some baseball with us.
I love it.
And we were just having our own little
Yeah.
like Monday night football outside. We'll play all day long. Like on a weekend from Saturday, Sunday, we wouldn't even go in and watch the NFL or college football. We'll be outside in the front yard playing throw a tackle,
Absolutely.
having great time. Just being kids. Something that obviously you don't see a lot these days. You don't see kids out on their own organizing a
Right.
football game, organizing a baseball game, playing 21 on a basketball court. You don't see that no more. I mean, it's a lot of reasons why. One is COVID and all that. And it's a different world. Maybe in cities that have better weather, like California did.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're outside playing baseball all day long. And I'm playing football all day long, and then I'm going to football practice 2 days later. So I had that constant training and not really realizing I'm just out there having fun. I'm with my
Right.
friends. We're in the neighborhood. One guy, it's like, oh man, who has the bat today? Where's the baseball? We don't need no gloves. We're gonna play without gloves. Let's go. Let's have fun. Watch for the cars. Don't get hit. That's the conversation. Hey, car. We stop the game for car.
I
Let the
love it.
car roll by, and then we get right back at it. So just a combination of all that stuff. And then my dad, he played offensive lineman when he was in college. He blew his knee out, and so he taught me things that like he gave me an offensive lineman mentality. My brothers gave me a running back,
Mm,
wide receiver, offensive player mentality.
wow.
And so that's a combination. One of my teammates from Green Bay Packers, who I do a podcast with, I told him that my dad was an offensive lineman. He instilled in me offensive lineman mindset. He's like, bro, I did not know that. I'm like, yeah, that's one way. That's one reason I ran the way I ran. Because offensive lineman, they have, obviously it's a different game for an offensive lineman to a running back.
Yep.
Different game. We, from the outside looking in, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, they get all the attention. The offensive lineman and defensive lineman, all the news they get is when they miss a block. They get the
Right.
quarterback sacked. So I understood that. So this was a part I was, that made me humble, you know. And then my brothers say to me one day, hey, bro, you're a running back. Don't you ever think you run the ball and get a lot of yards without your offensive lineman. Don't ever think that. If you think you're going to do this without your offensive lineman, you're going to be done. They said that to me. I might have been 11, and it never left my brain.
Mm,
And now I'm like, he said, yeah, those guys help you a lot. And then, by the way, check out this guy named Walter Payton, Marcus Allen, Bo Jackson, just to help out. Watch film.
mm,
Watch NFL film when back in the day. Now it's YouTube. I could tell kids go watch this guy.
right.
Back then it was either on TV or it wasn't, or it was on VHS for us.
Right. Heck yeah.
So just the combination of all that, I just learned how to. I had the innate ability. I mean, I say if I had anything, I'm a comic book guy, being a video gamer. If I had to have a superhero power, even as a kid, my dad noticed. He's like, you do. He said two things to me when I was probably like I think 8 or 9. He's like, you do just enough for them not to catch you. He said you don't just run past people and just blow them out. You just do enough. He said, and then also I noticed in another, this is a different conversation. He said it doesn't take you long to learn something. You'll see somebody do it, and then you can mimic them. So I'm like almost I could copy somebody if I
Mm,
watch somebody do something physically, even or it's like homework. Like when I watched it, when my as a learner, I learned right away when the teacher would do it on the board, and they would let me do it on the board, or I could
mm,
do it on my paper or my notes. I get it quicker. So I was more of a doer learner. Like if
yeah.
you let me do it, I'm gonna get it faster. But if you just talk all day, I'm not. It's gonna take time if you're not letting me actually do something to get it. So my teachers that did that for me without even knowing it, I learned faster. But then also on the baseball diamond, basketball court, football field, I just watch my teammates run around and I'm like, oh, okay, I figured it out. I could do that, because like every position from the time playing in Little League in LA all the way through my high school, I played running back, wide receiver, quarterback, defensive end, linebacker, and corner. And actually, corner. Corner was my worst, only because I was so physical
Right.
and I wanted to grab people, and I can't grab people being a DB. I
Yeah.
knew that, so I wasn't the best cover corner, but nobody outran me after they caught the ball. So they would catch the ball on me, but then I would tackle them. Boom.
Well, then it also gave you perspective from the other side of the ball to see things from that perspective. So then now you're seeing the gaps from
Yep.
that side. And so that gave you a whole nother perspective besides the receiver side or the defensive end or the linemen. So that explains a lot about
Yes.
your football IQ.
Exactly.
Man, that
Exactly.
is fascinating because you don't really hear about people playing both sides of the ball. You hear about people being converted
Correct.
once they get to college, or even after college and into the pros, a lot of
Yep.
quarterbacks, to go to special teams or wide receivers. Wow, that's incredible. So
Yep.
do you think because your first couple of years were a little bit different than your last couple of years in Nebraska, do you think your coaches knew how smart you were?
No.
Yeah, no, there's no way. Because if they
Um,
had,
it wasn't until I got to Green Bay where a coach figured out my football IQ. A couple coaches.
they
It
didn't
was
ask you
Sylvester.
those questions during like the Wonderlic, during any of those interviews. Like they didn't ask, they didn't pick up on that. How am I picking up on that? Like I'm just a nobody. Like, and I asked that question. You said that not many people have asked that question, but how do you not ask if someone's got a good football IQ? Like I don't get that. Like what?
And that's why if you ask most NFL players, they'll say the scouting system in the NFL is flawed because they see they should see some of the stuff is right in front of them and they don't acknowledge it. So this was the draft synopsis on me in 1998. And mind you, this is me coming out of Nebraska, a two-time
Two,
national champion.
right. Two rings. Yep.
I rushed for almost 2,000. If you count the bowl game my junior year, I rushed for 2,000 yards. The draft synopsis on me was I'm not a four-quarter running back. He's injury prone. I never only missed games 1 year was when I had turf toe in my sophomore year. So I was injury prone because of that, I guess.
What?
I couldn't catch the ball, but I'm catching option pitches running laterally full speed where I'm running run direction. I'm looking back to my left or my right and I'm catching the ball with my hands. Sometimes I'm catching it here, some catching it back here. I've done some one-handed option pitch catches.
People don't realize how hard that is. Like it was hard enough being a center fielder in baseball and seeing the ball,
Move like this when you're about to
yeah,
catch it, right? And
right,
I play
yeah.
baseball.
And you got pads on. Like what? Come on,
So
man. That's crazy.
so it's like the how you don't put the relation of a option running back that can't catch the ball. If he can't catch the ball, he's not getting the option pitch. And if you did your homework, oh, he played baseball when he was in little league and high school.
That's what I was saying.
You know, so not
Hands.
so he's all hand-eye coordination is
Yeah.
there, and then he adapts quickly. How many sports? Nobody not once at the combine asked me how many sports did I play in high school. I played football, I played baseball, I ran track, I played volleyball, and I played basketball. Played 5 different sports between my freshman and senior year of high school, and I power lifted, and I was the captain of the volleyball team. Just boom.
Idiots.
You don't ask me those questions because for me as an athlete, that's the first question I'm asked. I always ask a kid, what other sports you play? That tells me a lot about that kid, about their ability, how they learn, how
Yeah.
they adapt. I never got asked that question at the 1998 combine. Never.
How many general managers told you later that they blew it?
A handful that I actually met and actually had a
Yeah.
conversation with.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
the scouts I met that were even in Green Bay, Seattle, or other teams, they every time I run across them, they're like, dude, I was at your pro day. He said, there is no reason. I say, it makes no sense how you got drafted in the third round. You should have got drafted. You should have been a first rounder. Not only did you catch 17 or 20 passes, you ran a 4.1640 and a 4.1740 and a 4.1840. No, we hadn't seen that since Bo Jackson. And you got drafted in the third round. That still doesn't make sense to me. And that's a scout. This is a professional NFL scout telling me, and I'm like, look, I'm like, it is what it is now. You know,
More more
it's
motivation.
2003 now, or it's 2012 now.
Right.
It's in the past.
Well, I
So,
mean, that gives you motivation. Tom was a 6th round pick. I mean, those
hmm
things end up working in your favor later.
yeah,
Oh man, that's interesting. So, anything else you want to share with everybody about your experience at the University of Nebraska? I mean, obviously
yeah.
you got a couple of rings, but what was that like? I mean, I'm obviously I love Michigan. I'm from Michigan,
Oh,
and
go blue.
yeah,
I know some Wolverines. Charles
absolutely.
Woodson is one. I got a story about him. I'll tell you in a minute. I got to just tell you about that answer your question. But yeah, Nebraska was my was a dream, just like anything, like with football, pro football. It was a dream come true. Um, I say my junior. I remember particularly. I told this story a few times. My junior year in high school, my mom taught me how to set goals, and I remember she sat me down, and my dad was in and out of the room talking too, added in his little flavor, and she says, "Okay, you have short term, mid term, and long term goals. Short term is stuff like right now,
Right.
within a day or a week. That's a short term goal. Midterm is between now and maybe a month, maybe 2 months. Long term is between now and next year or 2 years." I said, okay. She's like, what are the things you want to do in your life right
Mm.
now? And I'm like, okay. She's like, think about that. And I did. And I was like, all right, yeah, I want to get A's on my tests. I want to get recruited by Nebraska, by, Miami. Those are the schools I was into. Um, Alabama. I wanna go to college. I want to get my degree.
Mhm.
She's like, all right, now some of them are like right now, some of them are off a little bit. She said, put this, what I just said to you, put them in that order, like I explained to you. I'm like, okay. So I did. I took a piece of paper, written them down. Then I started thinking about other little goals, like cleaning my room every Saturday. And I was like, oh, that's a goal. Boom, boom, boom. I wrote that down. So my list started small, and eventually it became a whole piece of paper, a whole 8 by 11 page piece of notebook paper. Um, so that's when when the goals started writing, that's when my focus went from here to like here. It was
Mm.
laser because in my
Wow.
goals by the time for the long term was whatever college I go to was get my college degree and win a national title.
Mm.
This before I knew I was going to Nebraska because I grew up watching. I didn't watch NFL as much as I did college football at that age. I thought
Right.
NFL was boring to watch. I knew it was a good thing to do because I've seen
Right.
people like Walter Payton, Marcus Allen, Bo Jackson, Joe
Yeah.
Montana, Jerry Rice. I knew of those players, but it was just boring to watch as a
Yeah.
kid. I was a kid. So I watched college football more. It's more big, people busting out 80-yard, 90-yard runs, big bombs catching. I
Yeah.
remember Tony Rice and Jerome Bettis at Notre Dame, watching them against USC, those big games.
Yep.
And so I just watched college football more. But, once I got that goal sheet down, I just got, like I said, a little bit more tighter focus. And then, it just then took I was more mature than most of my friends, and a lot of them had the same goals that I did. They wanted to go to college, they wanted to graduate, some of them wanted to do pro ball, if it was football, baseball, basketball. But it was just getting those goals set up that then got me ready to go. And then
Mm.
I took my visits and then narrowed down to between Nebraska and Arizona, and that's when Arizona was number
Wow.
2 in the nation. Nebraska was number 1. They had with the Desert Swarm defense, if you remember
Mm-hmm.
that
Yep.
nickname they had. And Teddy Bruschi was my host. I just saw him a few weeks ago, and I told him that quick story. I said, "Hey, bro, you remember me coming to Arizona?" He's like, "Yeah, man, I remember." I was like, "Man," because I told him I was like, "I remember." He was real cool.
Yeah.
And so what's funny was like he had on these like we went out one night and he put on. I guess he like has a. I think he was from the like Texas or somewhere. I'm not remembering where he's from, but he
Mm-hmm.
dressed like a Texan. Like he had cowboy boots, some tight cowboy pants. He looked good though. It was
Right.
just
Right.
funny,
Right.
you know me. I was just like, and he had a cowboy hat on. I'm like, man, he is okay. I like it. You know, it was just cool. It just but meeting him, hanging out with him, and going on
Wow.
different trips. You know, I went to Notre Dame, I went
Mm.
to Nebraska, I went to Arizona for my and Michigan for my visit. So I was
Wow.
almost I came there for a visit too. What happened with me? What happened with Michigan? Why I become a Wolverine? Why I did not become a Wolverine was this. I know you remember Biaka Batuka, Timmy.
Yep.
So he was my host along with an offensive lineman named Noah Parker. I don't know
Okay.
if he was a name that he did something, but he was I remember his name first and last, Noah Parker, and then
Mm.
Timmy Biaka Batuka.
Yep.
So the second night I'm there on my visit, I left on Friday, Saturday, and came home Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So we're hanging out, and Timmy and Noah lived on the same dorm floor. I can't remember the name of the dorm. We're in Timmy's room. He's sitting there watching TV, watching football, and he goes to me. He said, "Hey man, they show me your tapes, like your high school stuff. They're like, you're good." He's like, "For real, I'm not just gassing you up. You're good." He said, "But they don't start freshmen. I don't care how good you are. You got to be a junior or senior, and they'll start you." And I said, "Really?" I said, "Oh, thanks for that information. I appreciate you." And it's
Right.
like, boom, I'm not coming here. It's like instantly. Because I'm like, that to me doesn't make sense.
No sense.
The way I grew up from little league baseball, football, basketball, the best players play.
Yep.
It's not fair. It goes back to that fair part of me as a being in my development as a kid for my
Right.
parents. Be fair,
Yep.
you know. Even though I'm a high school All American, doesn't mean I'm gonna be the best at the college level. But if I am, you got to give me an opportunity to play to help this team win. Now, if you're gonna make a judgment and say, "Oh, he's just a freshman," I was like, "Nah." It was. I didn't even think about it 2 seconds. I was like, "Okay, they off the list." I was like,
Yep.
I was like, off the list. I was like, man. So, once I got to Lincoln, those two
But wait,
years of
what happened with Woodson? Was that there or was that later?
no, that was once he became a Packer.
Oh, okay.
I'll
Yeah,
get to
yeah,
that.
yeah. Okay.
And so those 2 years, so junior year, senior year, high school. Now by my senior year, I'm a pro at goals, writing goals. And
Yep.
so then I'll just fast forward to my freshman year. And like I said, I had that goal set before I was a Husker, saying I want to get my college degree and
National
win a national
championship.
title, help the team, whatever school I go to. And now I'm at Nebraska, help the Huskers win a national title. And it all came full circle when I'm in warmups in the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, warming up. I'm doing high knees and butt kicks, and it just at that moment, I don't know what triggered it, but it just that memory of me making that goal popped in my head.
Mm,
It just might have been me looking around at the players and looking at
that's
the sign that said national title game. It said
amazing.
Tostitos Fiesta Bowl national title. I think that's what clicked it. When I saw national title, I'm like, I wrote this. I wanted to do this, and I did it. And so now let's finish it off.
Wow.
So it was like that, like boom, my kind of like an aha moment for me. It was just like,
Wow.
all right,
Thanks,
I'm where
Mom.
I'm supposed to be. Thanks,
Hmm.
mom. Thanks, dad.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
you
That's
know,
so cool. Yeah, not many people get a chance to play for one ring, let alone win two.
right, right. And the second one was special because I was a captain voted by my teammates. My freshman year, it was Tommy Frazier,
Right.
Mike Minter, Phil Ellis, Christian Peter, Tony Veland. Those were our senior captains. Aaron Graham, Aaron Taylor. I looked up to them because I was a freshman. I respected them because I was a freshman. Whatever they said, I did. I remember getting my first time getting in the huddle. Aaron Graham, Aaron Taylor both yell at me, "Freshman, we're gonna put this ball in the end zone right now." I'm like, "Yes, we are. No problem, sir." I'm like, "We're going. I don't know how I'm gonna get the ball in the end zone, but I'm following. Y'all said we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. No problem. Boom. All right, cool." So
That's classic.
now, now
You're the
I'm a
captain.
junior, and we're doing, I'm doing the pregame talks. Coach Osborne would have the captains do a pregame talk to get the guys jazzed up, juiced up. And I've been waiting 2 years for this. I mean, I like once I became a captain, I knew this was going to happen because he would pick one for every game or alternate. So it was like, okay, I'm that leader. Let's go. I got to get my guys ready, mentally, physically, whatever I got to do to get them juiced up.
Mm.
And it was just, like I said, full circle because now I watched Tommy do it. I watched Christian do it. I watched Tony Veland, Mike Mentor do it. Now I got to do it. And now, along with Scott Frost at that time being the
Mm-hmm.
quarterback, we got to lead this team. We had a rough, I mean, for most schools at that time, being 12-2 my sophomore year is a great year. For Nebraska football at that time, it was
Mm-hmm.
terrible.
Right.
Coach Osborne, their fans were wanting him to get fired. And, then now it was a team of full criminals because of the previous years with Lawrence Phillips and Tyrone Williams
Right.
getting in trouble.
Yeah.
All that judgment was coming in because we lost 2 games in one season. We lost 2 games.
Yeah.
And so when we junior year, 1997 season started, was like, it's time. This is it. Now we know let's go. I'm not hurt. It was more of that because I got the turf toe.
Right.
I had off the field stuff going on. Like the biggest thing for me, like I didn't really, like I said, I didn't talk to nobody, so nobody knew what was going on in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I had college. I was a college student, and then I found out I was going to become a father as a 19-year-old, 19-year-old. So for me, it wasn't that it was a big deal. It was just a fact that that's heavy information.
Yeah.
And that's not just oh, by the way, you're a dad. That's not nothing that you can just like, oh, okay, you're gonna brush off. I said to myself then, I'm like, okay, because I know how my dad raised me and the effort and the the butt whippings, the discipline, the teaching moments. Okay, now it's my turn, and it's gonna start now. So that's how I looked at it. That's how I took it. So I didn't, obviously,
Mm.
I was quiet about it. I didn't really let nobody know. Some of my closer teammates knew.
Right.
Um, but obviously, for me being the way I was, I kind of internalized it, and it came out in certain ways. And it came out. I remember coming out of junior camp that year. I had back spasms. I never had back problems. I was very flexible. I stretched every day religiously. Back spasms. Even my sophomore year, the turf toe. That I had knee problem, like knee soreness that I never had before because it's just I was internalizing my stresses because I'm like, I don't want nobody to worry about or have to deal with my problems. I'll deal with my problems.
So
But
wait, but I want to hold on for 1 second because I don't want to overlook that point because I
yeah,
usually don't get into this because I mean I come from a family of healers.
yeah, no, that's fine.
So the whole
My brother's a
holistic.
healer. My wife's a healer.
Wow, really? We're gonna have to talk about that maybe the next time you come on. That would be an amazing conversation. Maybe bring your wife and your brother on. Yeah, so the whole holistic part of it. So
Yep.
you're touching on it, but I know you're continuing the story. But I'm going to stop you because
Yeah, go ahead.
if you guys out there don't think that the emotional doesn't affect the physical, you
You're
are living under a rock because it
exactly.
absolutely affects everything. And so when you got stuff going on emotionally, or you don't feel supported, or you're emotionally feeling a low vibration,
Hmm.
it's going to affect the physical, absolutely. So, and you didn't know that back then. You're just sort of talking about it now, but
You're right.
it makes sense.
Because I've learned that through my life.
They don't know it now. Guys don't
Right.
know it now. They don't take a holistic approach, and they wonder why their bodies fail them. There's other reasons,
Exactly.
but that's a lot of the reason. A lot of times is the emotional trauma or things that are happening acutely or chronically that they haven't dealt with, and now all of a sudden they're injury prone. But they're not.
Exactly.
They don't have people in their life to bring it home.
Exactly. I do now. I did then, but I wasn't communicating that to them. my mom, my sister, who are basic empathetic people.
But nobody at
Um,
that age is in tune with being a holistic person. Like
true.
nobody,
Like for me, yeah, right. I say for my mom, yes.
yeah,
I
she
could
got
tell
it.
when I think back the conversations that I had with my mom and my godmother, they were when I remember, because I can remember almost detailed conversations, and I would just feel like, if I would have paid, I mean, but I'm a kid.
Not
I'm
gonna pay
growing up. I'm
attention.
developing. I'm learning things.
Yeah,
My emotional wave is
yeah,
like this. So it's like I can't beat myself up about it. It's just the way it is. So,
yeah,
but now I know I'm fully aware. I pay attention. I read the room. When I come
right.
into a building, when I go home, I read the room. When I'm around my kids, I read the room because you could just look at somebody sometimes and you know it. They're not having a good day. Something's going on. I don't know what it is. If I'm gonna go down that road to talk to him about it, I'm gonna be careful. I'm gonna take time, or I'm gonna ask open-ended, just chip the layers away slowly,
Yeah, and be present.
or yeah, be present. Exactly. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I had that, and so, but then coming out, like I said, going into my junior and find out I'm a dad, but then I'm gonna do this. Got it out of me. I start seeing I start seeing a masseuse and a chiropractor from the turf toe. The chiropractor referred me to this a masseuse who I still talk to today, named Tim Newman,
hmm.
and he helped me obviously with the joint movement because the turf toe, if you never had it explained to you, so it's basically your big toe. This is your big toe,
Right.
your thumb on your foot,
Yeah,
and that joint right here
R-
gets
r-
gets sprained very bad, and basically that controls. You find out
everything.
everything about your foot.
Basketball, every sport. Yes,
Yeah. So I found out
takes
about that.
forever.
It takes forever. So that referral to a masseuse to keep the manipulation, the mobility of that toe, and then obviously getting full body massages that just helped me release stuff. And physically, that was probably the best I felt in my life.
Wait, did you notice the emotional stuff? Looking back on it, was starting to come out when someone was digging deep and
Hmm.
like sort of as a metaphor, like they were digging, and now were you? Did you ever cry in the middle of a massage?
No, I came close to crying more because of pain. Not an emotional release, but that pain might have been that emotional release. You see what I'm
Yeah, it might have
saying?
been. Yeah, that's
Because I
interesting.
remember the first masseuse I went to was in California right before my junior season. This was before the back spasms, and she went into my psoas area,
Hmm.
which is your internal, like under your abdominal muscles.
Right.
The first time she hit it, I almost passed out. I was like, I was like, what are you doing? I'm like, where are you at? She's like, your psoas, you're so tight. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, she's like, you okay? I said, I'll be fine. Keep going, keep going. I was like, oh,
How many times have you talked about your massage on any of your interviews or your shows?
exactly,
It's
exactly.
hilarious.
So, but yeah, that came out and I loosened
Oh
up, but then I
man.
still had spasms going into the season, and we started the season. I'm in a back support, but by mid
Oh shit.
season, I came out of it and I started to feel comfortable, normal, dealing with everything. Now my daughter is like almost 1 years old now, and school is
Wow.
school. I'm still getting A's and B's. I think I graduated with a 3.7 GPA.
Amazing.
Winning, and then I captained my team along with some of the other captains to another national title. We beat Tennessee in the Orange Bowl.
Yep.
Peyton Manning on that team,
Yep.
Jamal Lewis, some really good NFL players, and we
Amazing.
beat them. And now I'm at the moment in my life where is it time?
Right.
Everybody's asking me the question, are you gonna go pro? And I'm like, look, I gotta play. I got a game to play first. I got a
Yeah.
national title game to go win before I even think about going to the NFL. That's one thing I was like, when I'm focused on something, I don't jump to the next thing until I'm done with this one thing first.
Goals.
Yep. It's just goals. I got to do this
Yep.
first. I'll think about that later. Right now, we got Tennessee Volunteers. We got to deal with as a team, and so we did our thing. We did our job there. I remember the night before the game, we watched Washington State play against Michigan in the Rose Bowl,
Remember that game.
and we saw how the game went. It was a tight game, and we saw Ryan Leaf, who later become a friend because we were represented by the same law firm. I watched Ryan Leaf driving down the field that last drive, and they get to about the 20-yard line, and I'm like, okay, all you got to do is get the ball set. He got 5 wide. It's gonna be interesting. We don't know what's gonna happen. And then they get the ball set, clock run out. I'm like, that was strange. I was like, interesting. And that's kind of how I reacted. I was like, interesting.
I remember
All
that.
my teammates are like, oh man, they cheated. Oh, they wanted Michigan to win. And blah, 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 blah. I'm sitting there as a team captain, like kind of like when I was in my freshman year in high school at the Little League Little League first
Right.
game of the Little League season. I'm like, we got to play our game. I get up for all my teammates that are like, oh, they cheated. I say, guys, don't even worry about what just happened in Los Angeles. We in Miami right here. We got work to do tomorrow. We do what we need to do out here. They'll give us the national. They'll have to give us the national title. We do our job here. Don't even worry about that game. And I walked out of the locker room. I went to the bus, went to my hotel room. Then the next day we did what we did, And
Ryan's turned his life around. I've tried to get him on the show. Yeah. He's busy, but I would love to just, I know he's told the story. He hasn't told it that often though.
I was there. I mean, I was there and I saw the actual ground zero. The moment he stopped showing up for our workouts, I had a bad feeling right here. Because we got like this. We were hanging out every day, going to work out, training for the combine. And then a week goes by, he's gone. I'm like, the coach, Chuck, who was training us, Frank, hey, you talked to Ryan yet? I said, no. I said, and then finally I talked to, because we had the same agent, they said, oh, he's been making the rounds, meeting with NFL teams. He's going to be a first round pick. And I'm like, I hope he's working out. I'm like, because this is football. This is not going to be a lawyer, not going to be a doctor, not going to be a librarian or a teacher. This is football. Our job interview is the combine. I was like, I hope he's throwing. I hope he's working out and eating like he was when he was with me. And sure enough, he wasn't. He still got drafted high, and we know that story. I know that story, and just to see it was like, man. I was like, man, it hurt me because it was he was a person I spent time with.
Yeah, right.
It was like, I know this guy, and he's not this kid. He's not, he's a kid for one, and that's not him.
It's interesting to see what someone's breaking point is, or how they get in their own way, and when that happens, or how they sabotage things for what reasons. So that part of any story is interesting.
It is. So I remember being that week where he didn't show up and after that I didn't see him until we played him when I was a Seahawk and he was a Charger in San Diego. Wow. So I'm on the field that day. That's the first time I saw him in like 9 months. It was February. That was the combine. So January, at the end of January, that's when I didn't see him from then. So January or February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Maybe October we played the Chargers. So 9 months is from the time we were in California training for the combine to when I saw him on the field. And I just had a terrible feeling in my heart about him. And just that the combine started with the combine not working, him not working out. I knew he wasn't working out because I was just like, man, I know he's going to get drafted, but it's just like, man, you got to make sure you do everything you can do physically for yourself. Because it's a physical sport, it's mental part of it. And Let
me ask you this. You mentioned you had that aha moment in the Fiesta Bowl where you remembered the goals. Right. And so did that happen in the NFL where, because it's just constant, right? And you had OTA. I mean, there's things back then were different. Did you ever stop and just say, man, I just cannot believe this goal's actually been achieved also, and then I'm actually having some success like at this high level?
That definitely happened in Green Bay once I got my opportunity to be the starter and everything. And it was, I can't remember exactly when, but it was definitely in Green Bay.
So we've had Bill Curry on. He played for Vince Lombardi.
Okay, nice.
And he talked a lot. He talked a lot about Vince and his zero tolerance. For basically what we're still fighting for now, either me as an ally or you, trying to continue to explain the narrative and how it still exists. And, Michael Montgomery II was obviously on. And so did you have any idea once you went to Green Bay, the magnitude of Lambeau Field and the history, and like, is there any way to understand it until, like, with Nebraska or anything else, like, unless you're there in the midst of it, in like, I mean, it's just one of those things, like no other franchise, even with all New England's success,
Right.
like there's just, even with Dallas's 3 Super Bowls, like there's just nothing like Green Bay.
No, it is nothing like that. When I was at Nebraska, I remember watching the Packers beat the Patriots in the '96 Super Bowl, and I knew pretty much the whole roster for the Packers because that's when I kind of got into watching pro ball. But if anything, I'll definitely watch the Super Bowl because it was a Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember watching the Dallas Cowboy win their 3 Super Bowls, and then the 49ers back in the '80s win their Super Bowls, and then watching the Packers beat the Patriots, and me being in college, just like, man, I could, in 2 to 3 years, I could be on one of these teams. It's just kind of that type of thing. But then now it's like, boom, I'm in the huddle with number 4, with Brett, with Frankie Winters, with at my first year, Mark Tauscher's first year, Chad Clifton's first year, Mike Wall, Mike Flanagan. A couple years later, Kevin Barry, Marco Rivera.
Wow.
And I'm like, when I got found out I got traded, the first thing being who I am, being a big kid at that time, because I was 24, still a kid. The first thing that comes in my head is, I got to move back to the Midwest. I'm like, no. I like Seattle. Seattle was awesome. Like, the city was beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
Beautiful city.
Yeah.
Upper Northwest, we get rain, doesn't get that cold, barely snows. That's what I was like. I was like, yes, I could live here for the rest of my life. And then Mike Holmgren has a little fumbling issue problem with me. And Ron Wolf said, you know what? I don't care about fumbles. Quarterbacks throws interception. This is his words exactly, because I saw him in the airport one day and I asked him about my trade. And he said this. He said, well, Mike had a problem with your fumbling. You know what I said to him? Quarterbacks throw interceptions, running backs fumble the ball. If you want them off your hands, give them to me. He said, that's how I got you. Because he wanted to have a little problem with your fumble problem. He said, but what I saw was potential. He said, I saw your yards per carry average. You were over 4.5 yards per carry.
Right.
So if you're a football person, if you know running backs, anything over 3.5 yards is a good running back.
Absolutely.
So unless you're fumbling literally every ball time, but you're not going to be on the field then. You were on the field. You were a special teamer. You did your work. You became a third down running back. I saw all of that. And so I knew you could come in, back up Dorsey. Dorsey was coming to the end of his career. Wow. And then we could make you fold right into your career. So I knew potentially, but also once I met you, I was like, this thing is going to happen. This kid's ready to go. And he told me that, and I was like, thank you. I was like, man, it's just cool to hear that from somebody who had been around the game for so long. He was with the Raiders with Al Davis. And to have a guy like Ron Wolf tell you about you and what he saw in you, that was, for me, I'm a fan of the game. I'm a fan of sports. I mean, I watch everything now. I watch women's softball, baseball, basketball, the WNBA, NBA. I'm watching the playoffs now. So when I'm a sports person, I hear that from him. I'm like, inside, I'm like, oh my God.
Someone actually gets it.
Right. I'm like, thank you. I'm
right.
Like, man. So, yeah.
So then you're in Green Bay. Wait, are we going to get to the Woodson story yet? Or
yeah, I can get to that right now. I'll get there right now. So before you go in that Green Bay question, I'll give you this little nugget. So Woodson was a free agent in 2006 when Mike McCarthy becomes the head coach.
Yeah.
And of course, me being who I am, I'm going to tease him about that Michigan-Washington State game.
Oh, God.
And really about a game that didn't happen, that should have happened, which would have been Nebraska and Michigan.
Right.
Which should have, if it was finally 20 years later,
right now,
FBS now, it would have happened. And I saw we're in the locker room. And
it's all right, Michigan would have won anyway. It's all good.
Nah. Like I said to Charles, we would have destroyed y'all with the run game. He said, man, we had so-and-so in linebacker. We had this guy at defensive tackle. I'm like, bro, we averaged 400 on the ground. How are you going to stop that? We got the quarterback is 215. I'm 220. The fullback is 250. Then you got
Yeah,
guys behind me. We got a freshman, Correll Buckalter, who was 230. He was bigger than me. He didn't have my speed, but he was bigger than me. And
that's
we would go
classic.
back and forth. So I brought that. I walked to his locker. I just said, bro, we would have flew to LA for y'all to kick y'all butt. He said, no, get out of my way, AG. Get out of my way. No, y'all wouldn't have won that game. I'm like, yeah, we would have won. I'm sorry. I love you to death. I'm glad you my teammate now because you are
Hell
a
yeah.
player.
Yeah.
But it would have been big red all day on them blue, go blue. We would have hurt y'all Wolverine. I'm sorry. We would have put a chink in that armor. All right, because
Oh
I grew up a
man.
college football fan. I know how big Michigan football is.
Oh man.
Ohio State, Michigan. That's I knew that as a kid. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but so we did that. We would go back and forth about that. He was like, man, AG, leave me alone. Stop it. No, y'all wouldn't have won that game. No.
That's classic.
Yeah, so we had fun. I
Hey,
would poke at him. The first couple of weeks he was there on the team, I was like, hey, go Big Red. He was like, shut up. He's like, Ahman, shut up. He's like, AG, shut up.
well,
Quiet, quiet.
him, and Dion were definitely two of the best, if not the best ever, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's classic. All right, we'll get to the rapid fire, and then maybe we'll throw a couple things in there about what you're doing now, and then
Okay,
if you want to touch on mental health or anything like that, because it sounds like
for sure.
that's a space that's important to you.
No,
Okay,
very, very.
so wait, so Fiesta or Orange Bowl?
Ooh, I would have to say orange. I'm nostalgic, so I'm gonna go Fiesta because it was my first.
First one, yeah.
It was the first one, and then a little bit of the second one because I was the captain. But I'll say,
Right.
and there's no Fiesta, Fiesta Bowl without the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have an amazing wife, and she sometimes yells at you in the middle of your Ahman Green's Gamers Lounge podcast. So, with that being said, laundry, cooking, dishes, or vacuuming for you?
All of it. I do all of it. I help out around the
Wow,
house.
man,
Yeah,
that's a first. But which one do you
I
prefer, though?
probably the dishes because when I was a kid, like I
Wow.
said, all my brothers and sisters were out of the house when I was like 10, 11. They're grown, they got families. I was the dishwasher. That was my chores before I could go
Wow.
outside and play with my friends outside, spend the night over a friend's house. I had to have the dishes washed and put away. So not only was I washing them, not letting them sit and dry, I had to dry them with the towel and then put them up in the cabinet. I tell my kids, look, y'all lucky.
Wow.
We actually got a machine dishwasher. I was the dishwasher, so washing dishes would be my choice.
Oh man. Did Chadwick's death or Kobe's death affect you in any kind of way?
Man, they both touch me in certain ways.
Yeah.
Because obviously with Kobe, it was just so like it just happened, and it was like really, like wait a minute, what?
Everyone thought there was a joke. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that can't be real. And then with Chadwick Boseman, I watching all the movies, I paid attention. I'm like, he is a little. I say either he's in phenomenal shape. I just felt something. Just wasn't
Yeah.
sure what
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then once I found out, I just felt something. Just wasn't
Yeah.
sure what
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then once I found out, I mean, it was just like, man. But the beautiful thing about Chadwick is that the things that he was able to do before he left us.
Yeah.
Just he played Jackie Robinson. He
Yeah. I
played
know.
for what's it Thurgood Marshall.
Yeah.
He played Black Panther, and it was like, and to know what for my story, the things I've been through, to know he was dealing with that on his end and was able to perform the way he performed. And I watch a lot of movies. I'm a movie buff.
Yeah.
And I understand acting, I understand directing, I understand being a cameraman, a camera person, special effects people. So to do what he had to do, going through stage 4, I was just like, man,
Yeah.
God, he put himself on a whole mental. He was on another level mentally. Physically is one thing, but then that mental to really do it and
Yeah.
still perform. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure somebody knew, but for the ones that didn't, was like, man. Um, so it was, but that was just those are my feelings for both. It's like incredible, love it.
Yeah.
And the way Kobe, it was between the dad and his daughter was like,
Oh,
man, I got 4
brutal.
daughters,
Yeah.
and it's
Brutal.
like as a parent, his wife and his other 2 daughters had to,
navigate that space
without him, and without their other sister for the rest of their life. And as
older
a
sister.
parent, right? As a parent, you don't want to go before your kids.
Right.
If you're a parent, you want to make sure you do everything you need to do to make sure your kids are ready for the world as an adult. And then you be like, okay, I'm good. I can, if I need to go now, I'm good because I did my job as a parent. So yeah, those were some tough days.
Yeah. So Tiger Woods almost lost his life, and then he comes back 14 months later. Did you watch the Masters?
Yes, I did. And you know what? Whatever that was in me that day, I was like, because I usually just watch the highlights. I don't sit and watch it all day. But this past Saturday and Friday, I put it on the TV and I just let it run. And I sat there and watched it. And I remember like last Wednesday, he's doing his like warm up.
Right. And
he's like, yeah, I'm ready to go. And to me, I'll be honest.
You understood it.
Right. But honestly, I actually forgot about the car accident. I knew he had injuries. I knew because he's been having injuries over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Knee, ankle, back.
Yeah.
But I totally forgot about the car accident. And it wasn't until halfway through watching on Saturday where one of the commentators said something about the car accident. And I'm like, that's right. I'm like, wait a minute. That's right. And I'm watching this limp.
Yeah.
As an athlete,
you notice.
As an athlete, you know when somebody's hurt.
Yeah.
The way they throw the ball or the way they're walking. And I'm like, man, he got a limp. I'm saying to myself the whole time, I'm like, he got a limp. I'm like, okay, he just said he must have just had surgery. And then the commentator said the comment about the accident. I'm like, that's right. I'm like, then it wasn't that I was looking at it differently. It was just like, I was like, good. I was like, I'm happy for him. I was like, because as an athlete, if you're a competitor, and we know Tiger Woods is a competitor, and any professional athlete is a competitor.
I mean, won the 2008 U.S. Open with a torn ACL. So,
exactly.
I mean, yeah.
Any professional, I don't care. I know we see younger athletes today doing extra stuff, celebrating when they shouldn't be celebrating, all that. But I'll say this, which drives me nuts. But I'll say this. If you're at the professional level of your sport, they got to drag you off the field. And that's how I saw Tiger. He's like, you got to drag me off of here.
Yeah.
And y'all didn't beat me. I just been through some stuff. But once I get healthy, I know to me, if I was a golfer right now, I'm like, man, he's gearing up. He's about to start kicking our butt again. I'm like, y'all better get ready. Because that's a competitor. Like, I've been around enough competition and enough people that are competitors at my level of sport where when something's coming. I mean, is it in him? Yeah. He just did that. It's in him to say 2-3 years from now, I'm going to beat y'all in whatever.
Right.
Here in Whistling Straits, Pebble Beach, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Before I walk until I'm done. You know, that's what I saw, because that limp was it was prevalent.
And it got worse.
It got worse and worse. But you saw him, he didn't stop. He kept walking. Kept walking. And
interesting.
Very, very impressive. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
So let me ask you this, because usually I ask it earlier, but it's one of my disappointing thoughts about some of the quarterbacks, even the ones that, you played with, but in particular now, the GOAT, Tom, Eli, Payton, and Blondie. I mean, disrespect him like that, but Aaron.
Who's Blondie?
Somebody made a comment that Aaron has to be complimented all the time to feel good about himself, like a blonde female. So I've been calling him Blondie.
Oh, gotcha. I like that one. That's a different one. I never heard that one. Okay.
So I don't understand how those four guys in particular, and even Big Ben, to be honest with you, although he said some things early on at least, and so did the Super Bowl winning quarterback, Matt Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
But those guys in particular have not done, and I had Jim Trotter on the show. I've had other people on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Andre Rison disagreed with me.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Tom has handed off to a lot of people and put a lot of food on a lot of people's tables, that he's crossed paths with as their quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how you feel about it if you want to comment on it, but I don't understand how those white guys, because I firmly believe that systemic racism in large part, if not mainly, is a white problem.
Hmm.
Because the systems in place were the laws in place and the systems in place were made by white people for white people. And that's not to say that life is not better for people of color. That's not what
Right.
I'm saying. I'm saying that there is a segment of the population that listens to white people, and there's a segment of the population that listens to people of color. And
Hmm.
the same thing could be said by two different people, and they're going to hear it in a different way depending on who says it.
Correct. Yes.
And so I don't understand why Tom, forget the MAGA hat that was in his locker at one point, because
Correct.
I don't, that's his business, but he sort of got in the way, as Jim Trotter said, and that was his biggest frustration. And I don't understand how somebody hasn't gotten a hold of him or Payton or Eli or Blondie and said, you guys got to do something in the space of Black Lives Matter, or call it whatever you want, but you haven't been
Hmm.
a public ally at all.
Right.
And I just can't understand it, to be honest with you. Tom has put out, and I'm a Michigan guy,
Right.
and I had Drew Henson on,
Yeah.
and Drew Henson said, you know what, the only person that's ever asked me that question in all my interviews is my wife. Nobody,
Wow.
everyone gives him a pass. Everyone gives Tom a pass because he's a part of a coalition, basically about Black Lives Matter behind closed doors, and no one really knows about it. It's like, man, you're putting your name behind something like that behind closed doors. Like, why aren't you a public ally? Do you know the impact that you would have
Yes.
on white people if
Yes.
you and Eli and Peyton and Aaron got together along with all the influencers in terms of the white quarterback space and did something not just once, but made it a point. And I could get into the whole other issue about all the NFL players striking, which I feel like they should have done after Colin.
Yes.
But that's a whole nother issue.
Right.
But those four guys not doing one thing and basically having things that are desensitized now to people about end racism in the end zone or on the back of helmets,
Hmm.
like no one cares anymore.
Right.
But those guys, in my opinion, could be doing something that could be altering history, and they're not. And I will never give them a pass. I don't care who comes on my show and cusses me out or disagrees with me. Like, I
Right.
just don't understand it, man. They have a platform. I mean, I mean, I get amazing people on the show, but I don't have that kind of influence.
Right. Like they do.
And I just like what at now we talked earlier about all the influencers who, from what
From
I'm wearing, your
exactly.
hat, who laid the foundation. And it's not hard now. It's not hard
It's
to speak
easy.
out. It's encouraged.
Yes.
There's collaboration. Like, what are you afraid of? What are you guys afraid of? You'll promote your Tom's got a clothing line, and he's done hundreds of thousands of videos about, he secured money for his clothing line that black people can't secure.
Right.
I mean, there's things that happen in his space that he's not being an ally for.
Hmm.
I do not get it. I get fired up about it all the time. I just will not give him a pass. I just don't fucking understand it. I just
Yeah.
don't.
And I hear it. I said me and my wife had this conversation, and to refer to back to what I said earlier about during the civil rights movement, those athletes did that. Actresses, actors of color, they picketed, they did things. They said, you know what, we're not going to do this until this.
Frank
Jim,
Sinatra wouldn't play in Vegas unless Sammy Davis Jr. was able to play, and he said "F all y'all." And what
right,
happened? Sammy Davis Jr.'s career was changed because of a white guy.
exactly. And so you said a part of why, and explaining about Tom, and it comes what the part is you said was like, is it popularity or him, like his clothing line? So they worried about that. I've met Tom a handful of times during my career. Some on the field. I introduced him to my mom at the Pro Bowl one year. Um, so as a person and a football player, obviously I know the struggle, I know the hard grind and everything, being a seventh round, sixth round pick. Like I understand that part. But
Irrelevant.
what you're talking about, exactly irrelevant. What you're talking about is accountability. So just like on the football field or in the locker room, when we have players that are not doing their job, when we know they could do their job a lot better, we call them out.
Is it
And
accountability or responsibility?
as players, we know that. So he knows that, but his circle of people around him are saying things to keep him more distracted, maybe. I'm speaking from experiences of what I've seen in, what I've seen firsthand of how people work around a person like a Tom Brady, person like a Michael Jordan. I've been in those conversations, or I've seen it from right in front of me. Like, wow, really? So you get to a point, like for me,
Talking about privilege.
being privileged, but then being influenced and being you. That's one thing that's never changed. That if you're talking to Ahman Green, 6-year-old Ahman Green right now, I have not changed one bit. The only thing that changed about me is the gray in my beard and me being 45 years on this earth. The way I was at 6 years old, I'm the same way. I'm just obviously more intelligent. I learn how to read the room. I learn things because I've been on this planet for 45 years.
Yeah.
So I know better. I give you an example. I got this job, Lakeland, being an esports coach 2.5 years ago. Within the first year, going into the 2021 season, I had two players getting a little disagreement, altercation, verbally through social media. You know how kids do it today, and it was in the neighborhood of gender identity, being gay or straight. It was in that conversation, and for all the things that I've seen leading up to that point in my life, from Black Lives Matter movement to things way before that, Rodney King, all that I grew up
Right.
seeing. I said to myself, not on my watch.
Mm-mm.
I said, I said, this ain't happening. I'm gonna take charge of this situation and make sure it gets handled the proper way. Everybody gets treated fairly, and in the outcome, there's gonna be discipline, and you're gonna have to suck it up and take it because I'm gonna do it right. Because I don't want to be the person that just lets something happen because I don't want to lose my job, or I don't want to get looked at differently, or you know what, look at me differently. But I'm gonna do this for these players. One's gonna hate me, one's not gonna hate me. So what? But I'm gonna make sure they both understand the reasoning why I did what I did.
Right is right and fair is fair.
Exactly. So look at me wrong and don't look at me wrong, but that didn't happen. Every faculty member that was aware of the situation, they said to me, Ahman, you couldn't have handled it any better. This was the athletic director, the school president. I'm glad you handled it the way you handled it. You were fair. You talked to both sides. You talked to the parents on both sides. And now we got it. Now you hand it off to administrators. You're clear. You did it. You handled it the way you should have handled it. You didn't not talk to this person, not talk to that person, or take sides one, take sides on. No, you handled it the way a faculty member, person of leadership should have handled it. Because I've seen so many football coaches, coaches in general, celebrities, be a part of something and not do nothing. And that's like that goes to back to 6-year-old of mine. That's not fair. If you see something that you know is wrong, or know that you know what, if I'm a part of this, it's gonna change everything. Do it. Don't worry about the whatever you think is gonna come at your way. You know what? You're gonna have a little bit of flack. Everybody got something to say. But for the other side of it, you're gonna have another group of people that you're now supporting that did not think they had your support.
You wouldn't have known it until the situation presented itself.
Exactly. So for whoever in those situations, don't be afraid of how you're gonna be seen. How people, like, if you're that Pat Mahomes, Tom Brady, like you said, those four quarterbacks. So what? Because if you say something, it's gonna spring on change for all those fans that follow you. You're gonna lose some, but you're gonna gain a whole lot too. You're gonna gain a whole lot of respect, admiration, understanding, and just
Empathy.
empathy.
Yeah.
And I think people in certain places, they're afraid of just that reason. And I'm like, money doesn't go with you. When you're dead, that money's right in the bank account. That fame, that fame will get you so far. You go to another country, Tom Brady, people won't even know him. They'll be like, "Who is this? Aaron?" They'll go to somewhere that in Nepal. They'll be like, "I don't know you."
No, it's true.
It's like,
but that's the frustrating part. I just don't get it. Like,
yeah,
not one of the four. Like, none of them.
yeah. I mean,
Like, how is that possible?
it's possible because the NFL already is not. It's still broken, in my opinion, as a former player. I say some leagues got it. NBA gets it.
WNBA.
Major League Baseball's coming around.
W-
WNBA obviously gets it.
Yeah.
Major League Soccer gets it. International soccer, international sports get it. It's the NFL that still has people in New York that are all about this. They're all up, and this money is what drives them. Not knowing that, you know what, if you just address certain things and then handle it properly, yeah, you might lose a little fandom, but you're gonna gain another. For whatever you lose, you're gonna gain something too.
But it doesn't make sense when your brand, first of all, from just a common sense standpoint, is the majority of the players are people of color. And so when you don't put everyone with a seat at the table, you can't be the best version of yourself.
True.
It's literally impossible because you're not giving a voice to the very people, men and women in that space, who understand it better than anybody. So you have a blind spot, and then you're not putting people around you who are trying to help you with your blind spot because you're afraid of giving up the control and losing money, which in the end would make you more money. It's counterintuitive. It doesn't make any sense. It's mind-blowing. And Jelani McCoy came on the show and talked about this, that there are billions of dollars left on the table every year because not just because of the money, but they don't want to give up the control. Them being white people.
You just said it right there. Control.
Oh man, it is.
You don't. I've been around. Like I said, I've been on this earth for 45 years. One thing I think I learned this as a kid. Trying to have control over something. Oh my God, I don't want that. I don't want control over my wife, my kids. I work together with my wife. I raise my kids, but it is a conversation that we would have from time to time. Because if I control them and say, "Hey, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't talk like me, you can't talk to me like that, or you can't go over your friend's house," or it's chaos. That creates chaos because you're not letting those.
Well, it's not empowering. It's not
right.
empowering.
You're not teaching them how to
be the best version of themselves.
Exactly. Because as a parent, I learned right away. Like I said, it was a kid when I said that. Like, man, I don't want to control anybody or anything. Only thing I want to control is me playing video, my controller in my hand. But as a parent, I was like, I can't control my kids. Because if I tell them not to do something, they're going to do it anyway. If I say don't go over that friend's house, they're going to find a way to get over that friend's house. They're going to sneak out when we're asleep. They're going to do, or they're going to, be hanging out with all the boys they like and doing whatever. I say, how about I empower them by teaching them, okay, if you're going to have a boyfriend, you got to be ready for this. I remember my oldest daughter, Amani, having a conversation about the boys' conversation. Me and her mom are not together, but I say to my daughter, your mom told me she's upset that you got this boyfriend that she don't like. I said, look, I haven't met the kid. I said, but I'll say this. I'll ask you this first. What are your goals? And I taught her the same thing my mom and dad taught me. She was a junior in high school, around the same age. I said, what are your goals right now? We talked about this. She said, yeah, I want to go to college. I want to run track. I want to get my degree. At that time, what was the degree? I think it was law at that time. She ended up going law. She's security guard and criminal justice and everything. That's what it was. I said, okay, you got this boyfriend or you got this boy your mom don't like. I don't know. I don't really care where they're all at, but you're hanging out with them. So what do you think would happen if you got pregnant with this boy? To all those goals that you just mentioned to me, what you think would happen? Not saying they'll go away, but how would that be? Would it be harder if you're 17, 18 years old, pregnant and trying to do those same things? She said, yeah, you're right. Something like that. Exactly. So just think about that.
He gave her the power.
I said, so I'm not gonna tell you not to hang out with him. For one, I barely know him, but I know you, and I know what you want to do it yourself. You want to do some things for yourself. You want to get a college degree. You want to be a lawyer or police officer. None of that. Not saying it won't happen. It just be a little tougher being a young mother and then carrying on trying to do that. That's all. I'm not saying it won't happen, but it just be a lot harder being pregnant, kid, trying to go to college. That's all. That's how the conversation went. It was over, and then boom, she's single, no kids.
Well,
Two
we
masters. She has a degree and a master's.
man.
She's flying to
Well,
Hawaii right now with her friends
wow.
for her 25th birthday.
Well, we knew since you were in 8th grade that you had amazing leadership skills and knew how to talk to people, whether it was teammates or your current student athletes or your daughter, your kids, your 4 girls, your son. Man, that is fascinating. So let me ask you
Yeah.
one more question. So if you could have any, well, let's say 3 people. I usually ask 5, but in the interest of time. But if you could have
Yeah.
any 3 people at your dinner table, past or present, dead or alive, but you've never met them.
I love this question. I've been asked this before.
But you got to include 1 female in those 3 people.
Somebody I've never met before, right?
Yep, dead or alive, past or present.
Okay. Well, Walter Payton. Never met him. Never got opportunity
Wow.
to meet him.
Sweetness.
He passed away before.
Oh.
I thought I was gonna get it. I met his son and his mom and his daughter, Brittany. So Walter Payton. Felicia Rashad.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a coin toss because they were in the same movement at the same time. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King.
Yeah, Jeff Pope holds a room on Clubhouse every Friday, former NFL player, and he's an expert on Malcolm X, and I go in there all the time and listen. It's fascinating. They play excerpts from his speeches, and they talk about it. There's professors from colleges and universities that go in there and break it down. It's an amazing. You should
He's
go
from
in.
Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
My grandmother house is like across the street from where he grew up.
Wow, that's crazy. Who knew?
Yeah.
So
I knew once I got to about 14, my freshman year in high school.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. So how'd the season go?
For esports, actually pretty good. We got League of Legends in the playoff. Unfortunately,
Wow.
NBA 2K lost playoff game earlier this week.
Damn.
Valorant was in the playoffs. We had 5 teams. 3 of the 5 teams made it to the playoffs.
So what are some of the other D3? So everybody knows this D3, NCAA D3 is non-scholarship. So this is all academic and need-based only kind of college and university.
The student athletes can have jobs during their season, off season, year round. So esports is not just one.
How many schools nationwide have esports?
In the thousands, all the way from the junior college level, community college level, all the way to the D1 level.
Wow, for real?
For real.
Man, that's just
so you look in the city will have, Los Angeles Community College and then USC, then NWTC, all these little, and all those schools can have an esports program all playing against each other.
But there's a D3 national championship, but you can still play non-con against like any level, right?
We played Oregon, we played Oregon State, we played Wisconsin, we played Nebraska, we played Michigan.
Oh, hell yeah.
We've done all. Syracuse, Miami. Yeah, esports is, like I said, it's all inclusion. It doesn't matter Division 1 to junior college to D2 it doesn't matter. We jump in the league, we play against teams, and we have fun. The kids are enjoying themselves.
That's amazing. So that's the duality I was talking about earlier, about how you lived one life and then you see certain things, but in a locker room, or what you're doing now, is the most inclusive, right, form of sports. Small college atmosphere, all inclusive. Man, if society would just take a look at what you're doing in that space, we would be a lot better off.
Yeah, and this space is very woke.
Right.
So in the guidelines of in most of these leagues, we got to have females on the team, if not coaching.
Oh, it's co-ed. Okay.
Yep. And
wow,
most of the last 3 I've had between women, gay men, gay, lesbians on my roster, captains on my teams. Like I said, I'm gonna play it fair. I'm gonna play how I play. I play fair. You beat me, you beat me. We beat you, boom, handshake, GG's, good game. But everybody has opportunity if I'm running the show, if and when I'm running the show, because I see a
Anything but
person.
fair. Yeah.
Exactly. I just want to treat people fair, just like I wanted to be treated. How most of the time I was treated throughout my life. I've had um, some situations when I wasn't treated fair,
Yeah.
but I used those situations and turned them into positives and didn't let it bog me down. It might have bogged me down for a little bit,
Yeah.
but in the long term, no, it didn't, because then I learned from my mistake as a person to then continue to make me drive, get leadership skills, learn from that, and how I get better as a human being so I could be a good human and help other young humans become better humans when they get older. That's it.
Fascinating, man. That's awesome. Well, I usually don't go this long, but man, I appreciate the time. It was
Yeah.
fascinating conversation. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? You still want to be doing that, or what's do you,
Man, change. I'm a change agent. I don't,
I told you I'll put you in touch with whoever I can to help you get to, some of the things that you're trying to do. So just, I
I
mean,
say,
somebody told me today. I'm real quick. I'm training a future WNBA player, and I told her I've had at least 6 WNBA coaches from 6 different teams on the show, and I'm like, they're friends now. So like, I may not be an influencer, but I can be a connector of a connector.
oh,
And so that's all I'm trying to do. If I,
you
measly
got
old
my, yeah, you
little
got
old
my
me.
email. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got my email. You could contact me anytime. We could talk. We could keep this conversation going. I
Yeah.
could be a repeat offender, be back on this show plenty of times for different situations, different topics.
You could co-host too, because I love to have guest co-hosts because
Oh,
your
I would love to do
your
that. I do.
insight
That's
is
Yeah,
phenomenal.
I would love that. Just collaboration is beautiful. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, the right
So in five
connection.
years, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I
Coaching,
say
hopefully in the NFL.
that's one of my goals.
Yeah.
I say if not, I mean, I'm very happy here, and
Yeah.
like I said in my press conference here, I'm just trying to. At the end of the day, not only do I want great esports student athletes, but I want great human beings. That's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to develop here is great human beings because I remember Coach Osborne as a freshman, sophomore, junior, everything that he was instilling in us as athletes and students and people. Then in my years at Nebraska, I'm still using and living by those remarks that he's told me.
Mm.
And he was one the biggest thing that he could do for me because I had been by the time I was a freshman in high school, I had probably a dozen different coaches, football coaches, baseball coaches, assistant coaches,
Right.
volleyball coach. I've had gym teachers, so I was
Right.
around a lot of sports, people.
People. Yeah.
And for all those people, I was used to a few things, them cussing, at the drop of a hat, yelling at us for losing the game or whatever.
Right.
He, in my 3 years and now almost 30 years of knowing him, not once did he ever say a bad word, ever.
Wow. Not
And I can
damn.
bet on that. Not even damn. When you knew he was upset, you know what he would say? He would say
Doggone it.
malarkey.
Oh,
Oh,
malarkey.
malarkey. Da, 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 da. Or
Wow.
when he was really mad, this is when he was really mad. He said Mother Teresa and da 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 da. Judas Priest. We like, oh, he's upset. This is a bad practice. We're gonna have to start this practice over. He just said Judas Priest and Mother Teresa. Never once swear a word. And so as I got
Wow.
older, like as a player there on campus, I just like looked at it like, man, that's impressive. That's not hard to do. But then as an adult, it's just like he respected us. That's how much he respected us as people. Because most coaches I've been around, they're gonna F bomb this, they're gonna SOB this, they're gonna up the river without a paddle this and da 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 because it looks sexy. It sounds good. You're coaching when you're doing that. That's what I told one coach told me that one time. Oh, that's coaching. I was in the league. I was like, that's not coaching. I said, you're just venting. I remember one time one of my coaches here in Green Bay, he's tearing me up and down, you know. And I go, you done? I said, did you get all that out? I said, now coach me up. Since I messed up, Tell me what I did wrong and how I'm going to correct it next time when I go back on the
Right.
football field. Because I could get cussed out by my dad. That's not a problem for
We're
me.
both professionals here.
We're professionals now. So tell me how I can get better instead of you berating me because it sounds good. And he just sat there and looked at me, did this, and was like, "You're right, Ahman. You know what? Yeah, you're right." That's kind of how he took it.
Wow.
He was like, "Yeah, you're right." Cause I'm like, I don't do that to them.
Right.
My players in here, we've had times, we have touchy moments, but I'm not gonna yell, scream. I'm gonna tell them what they need to hear. But then if I need to be firm, I'll be firm. But do my best. Yeah, and it's not easy not to drop a F bomb. It's not easy to drop it.
Oh,
It's not easy.
absolutely.
But for my coach, for all his time there, even players before me,
That's
they
fascinating.
was like, he don't cuss at all.
Wow.
So I'm like, that's special.
Yeah, it is. Nebraska football gonna ever get back?
Yeah, it's gonna take time though, just like anything, because what we had down there, and you know that, you've seen it. I mean, kind of like what Michigan had in that one year. They had players with abilities, and to recruit those players, to get those players influenced to come to that school. That's what Coach Osborne and all his assistants, they mastered the art of recruiting and then getting those kids and then really developing them, getting to know them, being not only being a mentor, not just a coach, being,
Right.
teaching us. Like I said, the stuff he taught me, I'm still using it today for
Wow.
myself. And so that's what it's going to take for that team, for that school and football department to get back. Volleyball's still good. The same coaching that was at volleyball at Lincoln is still there. It's the new coach, but he was the assistant when I was there as a player my freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. And he was just under the coach that was there. He just passed it along because they knew the program.
They understood it. Yeah.
They understood it. We gotta approach these kids. We gotta empower them. We gotta teach them. We can't just berate them and tell them stuff that people on the street will yell at them that don't know them, or fans in the stands. You gotta empower them. So then now when they're out there on that moment on the field by themselves, they know how to think. Okay, what I need to do. All right, this is fourth down and they're going for it. It's fourth and 10 and they're going. How do they? You want them in that moment. You don't want them off going haywire. You want them to make a play. And so if you empower a kid, they will make that play because they can think for themselves. They're confident and strong and can do it. So
that's fascinating. I'll let you go, but it's funny you said that because I just told this young lady that I'm working with, she wants to do shooting because I'm a professional basketball skills trainer. So she wants to do shooting and footwork when she comes back from overseas.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, and part of what I said was, you have to treat the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes identically when you're training, because you're putting this perceived self-inflicted choke factor into play, and you just got to play. Mm-hmm. And so if you start to see things in a way where let the coach, let them put into play what they want to do, but you just play the way that you always have played confidently. And if it's the first 5 or last 5, you're putting in this pressure that the choke factor could be a thing.
Exactly.
So,
nobody else.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Well, I will definitely touch base, when we get the future NFL guys on, because it's always great to hear the dynamic of the different questions that you could ask. And I've had Auntie come back as a former WNBA player to, come and talk to other WNBA players and stuff. So yeah, I mean, we're just trying to keep the conversation going. I'm part of Coach Hugh Jackson's think tank, Enough. And
I heard what he's doing. I heard about that.
Brandon Marshall is on that. And, Judy Sweet, who was the first female president in the history of the NCAA. She's a part of it, and I've become friends with her. And so, it's just sort of this, like you said, it's just a connecting thing.
Yeah.
And so if that's a goal of yours, man, just anything I can do, I will, for sure. But it's truly an honor to have you on the show, man. Fascinating conversation, and best of luck with whatever the rest of the playoffs and the family and everything. You're down to earth, man. You wouldn't know that you played 12 years in the NFL and played with Brett Favre, and all these things, man. Like, I mean, he's another one that could do more, but
True.
I don't want to throw him under the bus because, somebody you played with, but man, it's just all these guys. I just wish they would leverage their platform. And like somebody last night on a TikTok live was like, all lives matter. And I was like, Okay, so you were in the hurricane. Would it be appropriate for someone to say, wow, I'm so sorry you lost your house in the hurricane, but all the other 49 states matter? Sounds stupid, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about.
Exactly.
So some people just don't get it, and that's why, I'm trying to educate as much as I can with this show. So
keep
you talked about things, and honestly, I've talked to Rashawn McLeod about this, former NBA player who's a friend of mine now, like the first transfer that Coach K ever took into his program. And he's like, there's things that are going on outside of our community, but we in the Black and brown community got stuff that we need to work on.
Yep.
When I go into Clubhouse and I listen to all the collaboration going on with the Black and brown community, it's encouraging, because it's like you always see perceived bickering and fighting and infighting and all these conversations. It's just like, just collab, man.
Yes.
Just freaking collab. Whether it's parenting or women empowerment, or just collab. You help the brand be and the culture and the community be better versions of yourselves.
100%.
But you've been on this defense mode for so long, for centuries and decades, that it's understandable. Like we did in the Jewish community, it was the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've been on guard for so long because of the Holocaust, and so we overcompensate a lot of times.
And that was the part we didn't get to talk about, was the mental side of it, because all those metaphysical scars are defense and trigger mechanisms that you don't even realize you have in you until a moment comes up.
Absolutely.
So that could be another show, a whole nother hour.
All right, bro. I appreciate it, man.
All right, no problem, Mike, man. Appreciate you. That's I love your whole vibe. I love this. This is good. I'll definitely, anytime, just give me an email, drop me an email.
Okay, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I'm trying to learn as I go and be a better version of myself every day. That's all I'm trying to do. And
keep it going. And like I said, just ask me when you need me to come back. I'm there.
Okay, sounds good, man. I appreciate it. So tell the guys thanks for their patience. They're having a lot of fun, obviously, because they're chirping it up in the background there.
Yeah, they have the game is not till 8:00, so this is all warm up time.
Oh, dang!
So
yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, all right, much Mike. Love and the utmost respect, man. We'll talk soon.
Hey, thank you, Mike. Thanks for having
me. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Fascinating conversation. All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Ahman Green. Former NFL star, most of the career was with the Green Bay Packers. Wow, that was definitely our longest podcast. And if you stayed with us until the end, I truly hope that you enjoyed it, because I did. I can't even believe 2 hours went by. Let me know how you like the background. Send me an email to thesportsdeli@gmail.com, because I redid everything. Not everything, but I put some things in some different places. I don't know if you'd enjoy, for those of you on YouTube who look at the background and stuff, and the Oak Park High School license plate fell off. So hold on, I'm gonna put it back real quick. But yeah, that was great. Touched on so many things. We'll definitely try and have him back, and I know he'll come back, because you can tell he loves to chop it up, and he has so much wisdom and so many experiences, and he's a girl dad and a boy dad, and married, and a leader at a college for an intercollegiate team at a small college. And wow, what a wide range of experiences, and aspirations to be an NFL coach. That's just amazing to me. Like how can you not have Ahman Green on your staff? Like, man, the first thing that I would say, even if whether I know someone or not, that I was trying to describe him to them, would be like just his emotional intelligence. I mean, forget about his football intelligence. I mean, this guy gets it. I mean, he is layered in a way that, a lot of times we don't see. And you have to, give a large part of the credit to his parents, from goal setting to having a better understanding of yourself, and not only standing up for yourself, but understanding how to have empathy for other people, and a greater level of love and understanding of the world around you. Like he said, he goes into a room and he tries to check out, the vibe of what's going on in the room before, he makes a determination on how he's going to handle the situation. Like, those are next level things. So, all right, those are my 2 cents. We have the Bet on Women here. We have San Diego Mesa basketball, my Tigers. Gouchers, where I played my college. Well, this is a letter from Coach K right here at Duke, long time ago. Mark the Bird Fidrich, my old license plate, Coach Wooden, right here. The Fab Five was a great book, Forever's Team by John Feinstein. Personally autographed, Joe Namath. I got the Tiger Woods book up here on how he helps people golf. I got my Goucher t-shirt up here in the corner. Magic, Sparty. Obviously, I'm a Lions fan. And then we have the WNBA shirt here. Breaking Tea is a all-inclusive t-shirt company, great company, Larry Bird right here. And we have some other things behind me. My graduate school, Gordie Howe, Marley and Me. We have a Red Wings hat, Michigan down here. Kirk Gibson's famous time with the Tigers. He obviously had some famous times with the Dodgers as well. LeBron James is More Than a Vote. This is where I went to high school, and then a lot of things going on back here. And then me with Tom Rose, current head coach at Goucher College, Lions here, and then Mesa College, my 2-year degree, my bachelor's degree, and then here and up here, my graduate school degree. So yeah, a lot of things up here. Another old license plate here. Hoot, I got another license plate coming. It's going to have the Sports Deli as a part of the license plate, so I'm excited to get that back on the car. Got the Red Wings way over here when they were great with Scotty Bowman as their coach. An old wood tennis racket right here. And down here, there's a baseball stool. I've had this for about 20 years at least. I got a Bad Boys jersey here. And obviously Michigan Harvey Pennick, the Little Red Book. And so we got also the U.S. Open ticket that I had when I went to the U.S. Open when Tiger Woods won it that year. I think I went on Friday, the second day. And then I got a U.S. Open memorabilia set here. So yeah, a lot of things back here. We have the patch from our high school league championship from a couple of years ago. So yeah, a lot of cool things here. And you can't see over here, but I have, maybe I'll turn this a little bit. You can see right here is Steve Lavin when he was with the UCLA Bruins. And then here's Lav's camp t-shirt from his dad's camp from back in the day. And this is one of our sponsors, Sport RX. Check them out online at sportrx.com. And this is a fungal bat I used back in the day right here. And then my Lions helmet. And then there's some NBA, the 50 greatest players of all time is behind here. And that was given to me by Dan Bruton. If you haven't checked out that podcast, check out that podcast with Dan Bruton. He used to be the marketing manager for Tiger Woods, Kobe, MJ, Ken Griffey Jr., Joe Montana, Dan Marino, just an incredible list when he was with Upper Deck Trading Company. So, all right. That's a little bit of what's behind me. And then I have right here down below here is a teamwork poster. It's very heavy, so I can't really hang it behind me. I got a lot of stuff behind me already. So, and then my high school hat here, Oak Park High School in Oak Park, Michigan. So I think I pretty much covered everything here. Trying to think if there's anything else behind me. I got the bat that I used in high school right here, my Easton bat. So that was back in 1987 or so. Mark the Bird Fidrich right here. Used to talk to the baseball. And then I got a little Tiger baseball up here. And yeah, I think that's about it. All right, everybody. Thanks for sticking around and getting the tour, because I really haven't. And then I got my my youth jersey from when I was like 8, 9, or 10 years old. I don't know exactly how old I was then, but yeah. All right. Peace out, everybody. Much love. AG Money in the house. He's switching the microphones on us, ladies and gentlemen. Finishing up a game, probably. I like the professorial look. Pushing the Bluetooth, getting himself ready here, ladies and gentlemen. Take two. He's got the Brooklyn Dodgers hat on.
There we go. I got you.
Oh, man. I would expect nothing less than a crystal clear set of headphones for a gamer.
No, it's Bluetooth, and the button takes a little.
Yeah.
Kind of stuck sometimes.
Yeah, it's all good. I got a pair that I take with me when I'm out walking the dogs. It's got like a triple combo, wireless, or you can use the cord.
Right.
And then, so it's but that's your area of expertise.
Yep. It wasn't turned on. Sometimes the button gets stuck. I don't know how it does that on its own. So
yeah, that's some good sound right there. I mean, my sound's outstanding for a $29.99 pair of gaming headphones. But yours is like, you can tell, like it's top notch. It's like next level.
Yeah, it's Lucid Sound Audio. They got bought out by PowerA. I have some friends that work for both companies, and they helped us with the headsets. We got a whole bunch of them, and then these come their own Xbox or PlayStation version controllers. They have licensing with them.
Do they sponsor the college?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh man, that's phenomenal.
Of course.
That is fascinating, man.
Got to get some help somewhere,
Yeah. So how does my audio sound? Because you're an expert.
Good. You could turn it up just a tad.
Turn it up a little bit.
Yep.
Does that do anything, or is that just the? That's not the external, right?
I don't know.
Let me go to the settings real quick, because you have it at the top on your iMac, but then you have.
Oh, you're on Mac? Okay.
Yeah.
Those are not that hard.
Yeah. Let me see something real quick.
Yeah.
No one's ever given me feedback on that, because when I listen to the podcast, when I run it back, I can, how you can increase the clip, you can increase the audio. So I just increase the audio. Okay, so external mic, and so you said I need to turn it up. So how does it sound now?
There you go. Perfect.
Oh, sweet.
Yep.
Bet. All right, I'll do a formal intro, and then we will chop it up. I'm excited.
Sounds good.
All right, let's do it. Thanks for sharing space with us today. We truly hoped you enjoyed that amazing interview. Remember, everyone, Black Lives Matter. Stop the bullying. Stop the Asian hate. Contact your local and state politicians for any inequalities, for any individual or any group that's being marginalized. Also, everyone, we want to raise awareness for those individuals that are currently imprisoned for non-violent offenses, in particular those with long-term sentences that are disproportionate, in particular to those people in the Black and Brown community. And I want to send a shout out to 40tons.co. 40 Tons is a socially conscious cannabis brand, and they're a social enterprise using the regulated cannabis industry to fight injustice, in particular for cannabis prisoners. So check them out again at 40, the number 4, the number 0, tons, plural, 40tons.co, because what they're doing in the cannabis space and being a socially conscious company is truly incredible, and they have my full support. And also wanted to remind all of you, if you're having a tough time, you can always call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and that number is 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, and they are available 24/7, 365 days a year. You can also always check me out on Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok at Mike Hootner. Thanks again to our amazing sponsors, Breaking Tea, Sport RX, PSK Collective, City Lokes, and Moolah Kicks, which you can see right here up on the screen. You can search them online at breakingtea.com, sportrx.com, pskcollective.com, moolahkicks.com, and citylokes.com. And if you'd like to support us at the Sports Deli, we'd love to have you either make a one-time donation, or feel free to make a donation monthly, either 99 cents a month, $4.99 a month, or $9.99 a month. If you have questions about that, send me an email again to thesportsdeli@gmail.com, and I will send you the link on how you can do that. You can also find it at the bottom of every podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. There's a link at the bottom to support the show. please check out our website at thesportsdelipodcast.com. Make sure that we continue the conversations with regards to 3 strikes and you're out and mandatory minimums, especially people that are in jail for nonviolent offenses. So those things need to change. And remember, gents and ladies, please remember to do your monthly self-breast examinations. And remember, guys, this afflicts about 1,500 men annually, with about a third of those resulting in death. So we want to make sure that we do our monthly self-breast examinations, both men and women. And guys, remember to do your self-testicular examinations every month as well. Until next time, remember, it takes a village. For Dr. J and Coach K, I'm Hootie Hoot. This has been a production of Hootie Hoot Productions. Thank you for joining us in the Sports Deli, where everyone deserves a seat at the table. Remember, it takes a village. Much love, everybody. Peace.